Go check out Silk Song. How about that?
What was I gonna say? I feel like Silk Song's gonna like drop a trailer, and at the end of the trailer, it'll be it's out tomorrow.
Hmm.
I could
Yeah.
go for some Silk Song. I want to play Silk Song so bad.
Um, a lot of folks. I figured I would just. I don't have a ton to say on this because I mean I could probably rattle on, but very quickly, I have been asked by quite a few people as to whether or not QA are devs, and since I've told a lot
But
of stories about QA, I assume that I would be able to chime in on the topic of heat right now on Twitter.
by the strictest definition of the term development, they're absolutely so.
Yeah,
Like linguistically in English,
I mean,
QA is absolutely developers.
well, I don't know if my job title is like dev tester, does that count?
Yeah, I
Because
think.
that's literally a title that you can have. You see, now that's obvious, and I think
I would expand that out to like, yeah, the guys and gals who are doing the crash tests at your local car factory are absolutely part of the development team. It's important.
this is one of those things where, like, 90%, like, everyone sees this and like they are, yeah, chiming in to go like, yeah, no, this one person saying that was like someone with a stupid opinion in the wrong, and most people are in agreement that, like, yes, this absolutely counts. So if that is nice, but I would like to, if anything, I'm like more. It's not interesting to me that someone said that testers don't are not developers. Right? To me, that's not interesting.
Hmm.
What is interesting is that a lot of testers I've worked with, they themselves do not feel like they're a part of the team. They
Yeah.
themselves don't feel that way, and part of that is because, yeah, you come in, you do an entry level job. In a lot of cases, you're starting out in a disposable position, doing minimum wage hours, and you know, it's like you end up feeling like basically someone who's flipping burgers versus a chef at a Michelin restaurant. You
Yeah, I
know?
mean, it's pretty easy to feel like you're not actually a game developer if you happen to be working at a third-party contractor and the dev team refers to the QA department in their notes as the Garbo Squad.
Sure. Yeah.
Like,
Stuff like that.
like,
That kind of
like it's
treatment. You know?
yeah,
Um,
no shit. People are gonna come out of that not feeling like they're an active or integral part.
yeah. Furthermore, we're a part of the most contentious department, and a lot of the times there will be like fucking people losing their minds that like get angry at QA and literally blame them for like bugs existing in the game and all kinds of nonsense.
QA
So
has a crazy distinction on that because, like, I mean, you've worked in there, and I've
mhm.
followed this shit forever, and it's like I've spoken to devs, and no matter how reasonable they are, every now and then they act like QA created the bug
Yeah, yeah.
to
Now,
like to fuck with them.
now, when devs get mad because QA did not find a bug, that is
That's different.
justified. And that is a very fair thing of like, you literally didn't do your job here, and now it's costing us a lot of time and money, and the project is going to suffer because of it. That's a very valid criticism, but this is not the same thing. This is like,
It's There are developers, I don't know why they even have QA departments because they blame the QA department for finding the bug and then don't fix it. So
I
why
mean,
bother having people finding the bugs at all
I
if you're not
know
going to fix them?
I know of projects where some of the dev team basically went, we don't need QA, we can find the shit ourselves. And like, that's where, and this is where a producer steps in, a good producer, and says, thank you for
Shut
your
up.
input, shut the fuck up, please, we're going to go get some testers, because that you're crazy if you think you're going to do both at the same time as we scale upwards into a project, right? Some people are just really out of touch. And it becomes evident very quickly on any given project. But yeah, The thing about this discussion is that there are a lot of people in QA who do not feel that way themselves, and like that, if anything, is to me more of like that's more of a shitty thing about that take is when the people themselves are like isolated and excluded despite putting hundreds and hundreds and sometimes thousands of hours on projects. I mean, like there are projects that would come into the office sometimes and like it's a like for example there's games that are like, oh, this is just like a kids game on like a website somewhere, so it's not really that high priority or important for the studio that's making it. It's just like a minor thing, and like the QA team become a part of that project and start influencing it by like, you know, pointing out everything that's going on with it, and the team of programmers, artists, music people, sound designers will rotate out and change completely while the QA team stays the same. And eventually, they are not only the people testing the game, they're some of the most senior members of the staff that know the project from day one.
The only person that's been here since the start of the project is the QA lead.
It's crazy, but that fucking happens, you know? And they have to be the people who, like, in a meeting or on a call or whatever, like, people are like, hey, so yeah, like we got notes from this person who doesn't work here anymore or whatever the case, you know, can you fill us in on this or that, or we're missing assets here. Do you guys, like, literally there'd be things where like the QA team becomes the resource to fill in the new team that's like replaced the old team that replaced the team before that, you know? Making the thing like the continued smooth running of this project is 100% dependent on this group of core senior people here. But it doesn't change the fact that they're going to be treated like shit the whole time. It doesn't change the fact that you know, people get cliquish and unappreciative and disrespectful, and ultimately look at QA as the people who walk up to the desk and drop the pile of papers on it, right? And it's just a perspective. It's just every time I open up my bug tracker, I see 100 new things, and that means more work for me, and that means that it sucks, and especially if that person is going through shitty crunch, especially if that person's undergoing shitty pressure from their team to get these bugs fixed, and everything is pressing down on them. And then they open up the database and they see a whole new bunch of shit in TTP, in bug tracker, in test track, in whatever it is, you know, then they're just going to take it out and just start lashing out at a department that's like here to make the game be good.
Why did you put bugs in our game? Actually, you put the bugs in your game.
Yeah.
I just saw them.
So if anything, I would like that part to be the discussion, and never mind the main character of whatever stupid Twitter thing. It's like, yeah, it's obviously a dumb take, and that's the end of that. Like, but
yeah, it's some dumbass game journalist said it, and then like everybody, including like I saw Dave from New Blood, it's the CEO of a company, just going like, "You're dumb, lol." Yeah. Right? Like you don't know what you're talking about.
It is nice to see people that are parts of games, like to look around and see like a bunch of people with like the check mark that are like saying, hey, I work at this team or this staff or whatever, and also like, you know, yes, QA is super important and they're part of the team, and, you know, saying these things because it certainly didn't feel like it at times years ago, you know? So seeing that like discussed openly and QA being defended on Twitter at the very least is like, oh, that's nice that this is a sentiment, because it certainly wasn't a popular thing back when, you know, I was in the trenches years ago.
Oh, this gentleman apparently today is not a journalist. He's a game developer himself. So, wow, he should really know better.
Well,
I thought he was a journalist because he's a Forbes contributor. Well, that makes sense, doesn't it?
Well, I hope no one finds bugs in your game, sir.
He then backtracked and was like, no, they're a valued part of the team. They're just not developers. And it's like, English is your first language. You should understand what developer actually literally means. It means somebody involved in the development of a product. Guess what? Everyone who gets hands-on the thing is part of the development of the product. You could make the argument that maybe marketing isn't, but they're actually still important. I think the most interesting thing about all of this,
I'm surprised you
is
went
something-
there. You can go to HR, dude. You can go so much more extrapolated. You know.
Yeah,
There's
HR
positions.
I always viewed as like the management of the company rather than the product, personally.
Fair enough, but yeah, anyway, it's to look at people that are putting their full 9 to 5 and quote unquote 9 to 5. That
Yeah,
pe-
9 to
people that
5. Look at you.
people that are putting their full 9 to 12s into the game, and to just be treated like, you know, like the fucking the disposable help, as it were, and whatnot, that are, again, you're getting fucking minimum wage, and you're treated like shit for what you're doing anyway. Like, at the bare minimum, like, dude, I've worked on.
Oh, that was a long pause. I thought you disconnected.
No, I just had to put it like, I've personally put my hands on hundreds of games, right?
Oh yeah.
When
On
I
a professional context, you mean, like testing wise?
testing wise, when I left the industry and I took inventory, I had a resume of hundreds of games tested, and the amount of games where I'm credited for what I did
Oh man.
is not even 10%.
Yeah, that's a whole different fucked up thing.
There are times when you come in and you get an email saying, hey, we're gonna get credited, isn't that cool? And it's like, yay, we get our names on the thing that we've been working on. That's awesome. Because most of the time you just assume that won't be the case. In fact, a lot of the times you see a name go by that just says the studio you're working for if you're outsourcing, or in some cases not even that, because they want the QA to be stealth. They want it to be hidden. They want the you know, whether it's like the production budget needs to hide where they went to get this extra testing from, or whether they needed to like get someone to look at compliance and make sure, because their own compliance testers were not doing a good job, so they wanted to make sure everything was okay, but they had to do so in secret. So we're not even going to credit the company. And you know, I'm pretty sure that like whoever makes the contracts for these with the studios they'll talk about like, yeah, we'll offer you that, we'll go uncredited, we'll, you know, take the thing there, and they might even charge extra for something like that. Who know? I don't know. But if they do, the testers never see any of that, certainly. But like a fraction of what I've worked on, do I have the name in the credits for, and that applies to everyone else that I was there with. So when the standard at the time, at the very least, was one that you did not expect to be even thanked officially, like what are you supposed to feel about that? You know?
It sucks. One of the things that always comes out every time this any of these game dev topics come up, and the more and more I talk to more people in the industry, is that more light needs to be shown on a part of development that often doesn't actually develop the game at all. It's all like, what I mean is they don't get hands-on the game. That it's all people skills, it's all management, and that's producers. Because every time I get a hold of somebody, I discover that the difference between many disasters and many successes is the producer acting as either a magnifying glass to blow up the worst ideas possible, or prevent them from touching the rest of the project.
I think I've described...
Like, just like... I was talking to people about Cyberpunk, and they were straight up telling me, producer came in and said something stupid, and like a month of our lives just disappeared.
I've talked about it before, but it is a very like common thing to see the producer role be filled by someone going for a Hail Mary play on their career, where they just went, I've been here doing stuff in some other context, or I haven't, or I was at another studio somewhere, and I see some requirements here, and I don't meet them, but fuck it, long shot. Never did this before. Let's see what happens. I was a boss at a telemarketing company. Now let's see if I can land this production.
I know how to
job.
manage people.
Exactly.
Projects.
And they nail it sometimes. Sometimes they do.
Sometimes they nail it.
Sometimes they have or I don't know if you know The Office, but
I'm not familiar with The Office.
okay, so for people who know The Office, sometimes a producer will come in and do the interview and nail it like Robert California, who is just a perfect example of like overqualified for this position. It's the dude from Sex, Lies, and Videotape who then becomes Ultron later on in the MCU. But you're just you have such a strong interview where it's just like, so do you feel that you're qualified for this position? And it's just, do you feel you're qualified? Everything is sex, you see. And you just describe the history of how your industry is about selling sex to the client, and that you have the anyway, whatever. It's hilarious. It's a really funny bit. There's people that land in the producer role and then they don't know what the fuck they're doing, so then they start doing the thing where they scan emails and then they walk around and talk to people on the team and just kind of get a feel for what they're supposed to be doing without ever directly asking anybody what they're supposed to be doing, because that betrays that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. And if you get really good at that, you can just skate the fuck around for months before anyone finds out that you have no idea how you got this
job.
You
haven't actually done anything.
You Costanza'd your way. Or Kramer'd your way, rather. Not Costanza. You Kramer'd your way into a job. I don't even really work here, And
yeah, there's basically 3 types of producers that I've been able to deduce from my talking to people in the industry. One is the person who really believes that they're a great producer and will play the newest God of War over the weekend, and then will come in and tell the team that they spoke with the director, and what we really need to do is add weapon crafting to the game, like a year and a half into development. And the team goes, but there's no, hey, come on, we're gonna put the come on, and just like every couple of weeks, like a new feature appears. That's apparently what happened with Cyberpunk, is that they would go out drinking and then come back after playing the new hot release and go, our game's gonna have this, and the team would go, we haven't finished the last thing you said we had to have. There's the gentleman you described who is fucking faking it. And then there's the good producer, which I think the best current example is probably, if you watch the No Clip documentary on 14, Yoshi P has become like famous for his production capabilities. But he even describes, like, when coming on to 1.0 for FF14, that he describes his process and how it deleted a couple years off his life, because he was like min-maxing and managing every single person's time down to the hour and how much work they were getting done, and like pushing them around to various parts of the thing and then reallocating resources to the day. Which is astonishing. And then he's like, everyone was kind of sick of it and I'm so tired, I will never do that again. But it's the only way we could have pulled that shit out of the fire.
It just, the producer that takes days off the clock of their life in order to get the thing done. Yeah, that is admirable. I remember a friend of mine who worked at the office, who would basically like amongst the devs and stuff like that would like play, you know, really cool shit and stuff, and like just introduce them to like rad Japanese shit that like would never be in the office under any context, you know, because these are dudes that like just, yeah, they just, you know, they generally stick to AAA Western releases, and that's kind of all they're doing in their time. And so, you know, he would just kind of bring in a tactical Vanquish at lunchtime and play that on the lunch caf screen.
Hey, you guys ever see this shit?
You know, and then just kind of see them kind of gather and be like, oh, what is this? Is this, oh, this is some more of your weird Japanese stuff again? Ha ha, okay. You know, and whatever. And then just starts doing cool ass shit. And they're like, oh, And then later on, after lunch break is done, walking by to get some coffee and seeing one of the producers with the controller in his hand on his own, just playing the game for a little bit and just checking stuff out, taking notes, you know, and things like that. Like, it's when you have the world of someone that is like, you know, pretty outside of well, I would say like pretty closed-minded because they just are not exposed to enough, and they also, you know, haven't been doing this particularly well, then you end up with, I played this game, when are we going to do that? We need to insert this to change the game up. And it's like, motherfucker, you didn't write the GDD. This is not your job. This is not what you're supposed to do. But, you know, the role of producer will also carry different weight depending on the studio. So some games, the producer is second chair and is practically the voice of God. But in other games, the producer is more of a junior position. And I've seen
especially in Japan, the producer role is really nebulous because sometimes in Japan it means director, which is really bizarre.
Yeah, we talked about that a little last week. But like, no, I've you know, seen projects and where like, yeah, if you have questions and stuff, like you're not really taking these to the producer because they're much more minor in their role here, even though that's what they're credited as, you know. Weird. But yeah, there you go. That's the opinion.
I'm getting from some trustworthy sources in chat. I legitimately mean that. That apparently on the last live letter, Yoshi P was talking about how he was denying the staff's overtime, where they wanted to stay later to work on shit, and he was like, "No, go home."
Oh, not. Wow. Okay.
Or stay home, rather, as it is with the work from home stuff.
Kudos. Good shit.
All right, yeah, I got a link here. Let's see. Will content that has been made while making several dev members overwork to an unhealthy degree really be enjoyable? Just straight up, like, if we have to overwork the devs to make the shit, is it even going to be any good?
Yeah.
What a pragmatic view of things.
Yeah, if the game has a body count on it, is it really enjoyable? You know, if karoshi occurred in the development of this game, you know how when like a cyclist gets hit, they tie like a white bike to like the intersection?
Is that to like celebrate?
No, it's when like someone dies at that intersection.
They'll tie like I keep almost getting hit by cyclists out my door, and I hate it.
Okay, well, when that's what they do. They put a white painted bike on the corner wherever that happened, and it's just like, yeah, if there's like a fucking desk here that's like just a white desk to symbolize the person that fucking died in the production of this game, is it truly enjoyable? Anyway,
yeah, it says a lot about like, hey, does everybody like Hades? That's what a game feels like when it was made by people who were fucking stoked.
I was trying to set up
day.
some absurd shit, and you just jumped in there with a fucking tactical fucking nuke. So I don't even get to land.
It's a skill, man.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, man.
Enjoy that. All right. Anyway.